Do you ever feel like you just want to delete your social media account because you see so much conflict out there? I know I do. But you know what? Today, we've got some fabulous guests on who are going to help you to find common ground so that you can do like I used to do in Girl Scouts, where we would sing, make new friends, but keep the old. One is silver and the other's gold. So let's talk about it. Welcome to the Let's Talk Fabulous show. I am Gloria Grace Rand, one of the Fab Five hosts, and I want to welcome you from wherever you are watching today, whether you're watching live on E360 TV or on social media. I hope that you will let us know in the comments where you're coming from and if you're watching live or on the replay. And now I want to introduce our fabulous guests and have them just go around and just say your name and where you're coming from in the world today. So I'm going to go with the lovely lady next to me. Her name is Jen. So where are you today, Jen?
Hey there. I am from a little bit outside of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, all right. Well, welcome. And next to you, our gentleman panelist today.
Hey everyone, this is Philip. I'm coming to you from right outside Disney World in Orlando, Florida.
All right. Not too far from me. And then down below, Philip, we've got Heather. Where are you today?
Hi, everyone. I am Heather Hester, and I am just north of Chicago.
All right. Excellent. And then last but certainly not least, Randy.
Hi, I'm actually at the University of Pittsburgh visiting my grandson on my way from California back to home in Westchester.
Pennsylvania. Right. So I think we got the country fairly covered, at least the Midwest, maybe in the Northeast and the South today. So I am coming from Florida as well. I'm in Melbourne, Florida. So I'm on the coast, and I really am looking forward to getting into this discussion today because it's all about how do we find unity in our differences and how we stay connected. And I'm going to start right off with sharing one of our lovely panelists videos today because I think she nailed it pretty well here.
Over the past few years, I've noticed something interesting about division. Most people don't disconnect because they hate each other. They disconnect because they're afraid of being misunderstood. One of the absolute simplest things I've learned to do, especially in hard conversations, is ask one question. Can you help me understand how you came to that view? Not, how could you believe that? Not, why would you say that? Just genuine curiosity. Something amazing happens when people feel understood. Their nervous system settles, the conversation softens, and suddenly you're not enemies across a divide. You're two humans trying to make sense of the world. Unity does not come from agreeing on everything. Sometimes it starts with something so much smaller. Being curious enough to stay at the table.
All right. So I loved that. So tell us a little bit more about that, especially, I guess the importance maybe even of that question that we need to be asking.
Absolutely, yes. Well, I think it is so easy to immediately be on the defense, to be listening when you're in a conversation, especially with somebody that you may not completely agree with, that you are automatically on that defense, like you're listening for those things that you just want to say back. And so when we're able to take that breath and just instead be in that conversation, I wonder where they're coming from. What is making them think this, or why do they believe this? Even that doesn't mean you agree. It doesn't mean that you are all of a sudden like, okay, I'm on board with that. It just means that it allows your nervous system, like I said, to settle enough where you can just be curious.
Yeah. And I know as a host of the show, for one thing, and hosting my own podcast, it's like I have really needed to learn how to listen. And so even though I'm like thinking about all the things that I want to be able to do on the show today, it's like at the same time, I need to listen and focus on what you're saying. And as I was listening, I also noticed Jen, she was like nodding her head like crazy over here. So Jen, you want to chime in here?
Oh my gosh. So much of what you said, I think I said in, as well. I think one thing I always think is if I am listening to understand, I'm using both of my ears. But if I'm listening to respond, I'm using less than one ear. So I've kind of taught myself that, I need to be present to hear exactly what someone's saying and not just enough so I can have my own perspective on it. It's been hard, but over the years I've had to learn how to kind of settle in and really be present and hear what's being said.
That is so good. I love that way that you put that about having, like less than or almost like less than one ear. That's a really good way to say that. Randy, I saw you nodding your head as well. What did you want to add in here?
Yes, sure. Asking questions is so critical, and letting them know you're interested in them. And I always think of Ben Franklin. He was famous for asking questions, and he could talk to anybody. He was ambassador in Europe, and they all disagreed with the young country. And he would just say, oh, tell me more about that. So questions are wonderful because people know they're being heard, for one thing, and then you listen, as you said, Grace.
Absolutely. How about you, Philip? What do you want to add to this conversation?
Well, I think one of the things that comes up top of mind is what is the attitude behind asking questions from being curious? Because one of the things I think about too is when somebody shares what he or she is thinking, that's a gift essentially that they're sharing. They don't have to share it. They may feel timid, shy, or just doesn't want to possibly get in conflict with someone, but they are sharing it with you. And how you take upon it, how you care for it, it's going to help them understand, do I share more or do I hold back or just disengage from the conversation? So if we have an attitude that we're seeking to learn how they come across that perspective, as Heather talked about before, and they see our genuineness, I think it absolutely lowers people's guard and allows a more fruitful conversation to take place from there.
Okay. I wonder, and actually, I'm going to pose this to all of you for a quick second here. Is, when you're talking about being curious, was there a time when any of you where curiosity really did help you to maybe bridge that gap with someone who maybe thought differently than you, or whatever it was? Jen, you look like you might have one.
Oh my gosh. Well, and we're not going to bring up politics, but politics we're not going to get into details, but it is a very polarizing topic. And I had to be humble enough. I got to a point where I had my own views, but I have some people in my life that had very, very, very different views than I did. And I had to become very humble just to say, hey, I have my perspectives. I know that your perspectives are super different than mine. I just don't know enough about your side of the topic. I'm curious, and I don't want to get deep in the woods, but I would love to take like 15 minutes, and can we just talk about this one piece of the topic? Help me understand, how you feel about that. I just would really like to learn a little bit more. So I think being humble, and because I knew it was a super polarizing topic, putting some boundaries of time around it. So because that conversation could have gone off the rails, and that's sometimes when the conversations can go in an uncomfortable direction. So part of my learning was to make sure I had guardrails around, like, just pick one piece.
I love that, and that is just so perfect, because the next video I'm going to play here talks about that exactly. I'm going to share that right now.
Hi, I met a friend almost 20 years ago at a writers' conference. She lived at the other side of the country, and we found out that we had quite different political views. But we became accountability partners for our careers because we both teach nutrition and healthy eating, and also good quality marriages. And so that's what we talk about. And I understand that she's coming from a different place. She's drawn different conclusions, but we both believe in happiness and health. And well, the way I think of it is like a pie. And you don't have to agree on every part of that pie with every friend. You can have friends that are in different parts of your own personal pie of your positions on different issues and your experiences and how you handle them. So my tip is to encourage friendships in areas that you have something really in common. And if they're good people, you can definitely still stay connected. Thanks.
See, I love when I have amazing guests on the show who can just kind of dovetail from one to the other. So that was just a perfect segue, Jen. I so appreciate that. So Randy, talk a little bit more about really finding, the importance, I guess, of those areas where you really can connect.
Yeah, well, early on, I kind of realized that I like being friends with lots of different people, and they can have completely different experiences. And I think I traveled all over the world with my parents, and I really realized that humans are humans. And if we can relate to the humanity in others that want to be happy, want to get along with their family, want to be safe, then the other differences don't really matter that much. So you can kind of pick and choose what you want to be close about, and what you really aren't going to worry about controversy. And I think a key thing is to never feel like you've got to be right or you've got to teach them something different. If you want their friendship, you want to build the parts where you have a commonality.
Yeah, absolutely. Heather, I saw you were kind of nodding your head there a little bit. You want to chime in here?
Absolutely. Yes. The one thing that kept coming up for me as you were sharing that, the word respect just kept coming. And I think that's such a big piece, especially, when you're talking about, whether it's difference in politics, excuse me, or just differences in the way that you believe, is having respect for one another in those conversations. If you don't have that, you're not going to be able to go any further. So that really allows for, the base is like respect, and then that allows for the curiosity to build on top of that.
Forgot I muted myself. Yes, just as a reminder to our audience out there that, make sure that you're taking some notes, because I know I'm already learning some great stuff. And some of it, I think we know, but it's always good to also have that reminder, because sometimes I think we forget, sometimes about just the importance of respect. I mean, what a it seems like such an easy thing, or maybe a simple thing, but not necessarily easy to do. So I appreciate that you brought that up. And I think, this might be a good time to share. We have a lovely song that was created for the show today, and I think it's really goes a long way towards establishing why, especially in these times when everything seems to be so divisive, that we also need some unity in the unity is calling. So let's see what this has to say.
Every heart sees the world through its own eyes, walking many different roads, different stories, different journeys, different ways our hearts have grown.
When we listen past the surface, something deeper comes alive. Every voice becomes a thread in a fabric rich and wide.
Every conversation opens up a door where understanding can grow even more. Unity is calling us, standing side by side. Many voices, one direction, walking with open eyes. Every color of perspective adds another hue, and the power of connection shines in all we do. Different paths can lead us forward. That's how love moves. Some will lead with quiet courage, some will speak and light the flame. Some bring wisdom from experience, some bring vision for a new change.
Every path can teach us something, every heart is truth to share. When we meet with open hearts, unity is waiting there.
Every moment listening builds a bridge of trust, and the future grows brighter when we lift each other up. Unity is calling us, standing side by side. Many voices, one direction, walking with open eyes. Every color of perspective adds another hue, and the power of connection shines in all we do.
Different paths can lead us forward. That's how love moves.
U is for unity,
On a way we stand,
different hearts and stories.
walking hand in hand.
Every voice has meaning,
Every soul has
and the
truth.
world grows brighter.
Every time we include,
Unity is calling us. That's the path we choose. Many voices, one tomorrow, lighting something new. Different dreams, different visions, different ways we shine. And together we grow stronger, one heart at a time.
that's how love moves. That's how love moves. That's how love moves.
That's how love moves.
Ah, what do you think of that one? I wonder if I have like a whole bunch of questions I want to ask, but I'm watching that today just made me think again about what does unity mean to you? Philip, I'm gonna pick on you and ask you.
So when I watched that song, I think it was beautiful. The video as well. When I think about unity, there's something that has to be going beyond what's on the surface for a lot of people. And the image I get in my head is a blanket versus a quilt. Both are meant to keep you warm at night, right? But they're different in the sense that a blanket is uniformly the same as far as like material, color, softness, that sort of thing. A quilt, on the other hand, still does the same job as a blanket, but there's clearly differences. Patches might be different texture, different colors, different designs, but they're all knitted together for a common purpose. And I think that when we think about unity, it doesn't negate our differences, our uniqueness. What it means is that there's something that goes beyond that. So beyond the disagreement, beyond the differences, is there something more important? Maybe because you're all united on the same college sports team. Maybe because you all work on the same company. Maybe you all are cheering for the same country in the Olympics or for your favorite sports team as a whole. Like oftentimes we talk about sports and other matters that unite us in that sort because we often see something that goes beyond our differences. And so if we're able to kind of see that opportunity of how our relationships with one another is more important than trying to win a debate or an argument and more about cherishing that friendship or relationship, that allows us to find that way to be a quilt together.
And I saw that Caroline Brown, who's one of our amazing support staff for the Let's Talk Fabulous show, said, yeah, unity means community. And that's definitely part of that. And weaving a divine tapestry. I love that, Patty. Yes. And thank you for that great analogy, Philip. I think that was so good. I think what I want to do is go ahead and share another one of our wonderful videos from our guest today, because and then we'll talk some more.
When you hear the term unity through differences, a lot of people might automatically assume that means stay in the conversation and agree, even if you don't agree, just kind of fake it till you make it. But honestly, my perspective is I believe that means staying in the conversation and being curious with the other person on what are their thoughts, their ideas, their beliefs, their assumptions. Like, just stay in the conversation and ask questions. And I think that for me, I find that most true when we travel and we go to different countries and you meet people from super different backgrounds. And when you start asking questions without judgment and without an expectation of what they're going to say, I think that's the most beautiful thing, is just learning from other people and asking questions, because people love to talk about themselves. So I think just keep asking questions. And when you do that, you find that there are these beautiful common themes or threads. In every conversation, you're going to find something, one thing that can unite you, or at least you can relate to. So, and I think that when you start asking these questions and having conversations, you stop being on sides. You stop me on this side, you on that side. You start seeing people as people. And I believe that good things happen when you talk to people. So find that common thread and unite with someone who's maybe not quite the same as you. Beautiful things will happen.
I love that you talked about that you brought, if I can get our computer to work, there we go. I love that you talked about travel and being able to be with different cultures, because I think that is so helpful, at least I know from my experience of learning about other people. Can you maybe expand on that a little bit more, Jen?
Oh, we love to travel, and I am somebody who I just talk to everybody, at whoever they are, and I find that I think some of my favorite conversations were when we went to Peru, and we hiked Machu Picchu, and we had a guide for that, and just the 9 hours of walking, and he was telling stories of his upbringing and his culture, and it opened my eyes. It just got me super curious to where he was and where he is now, and what he's learned along the way. It was just so interesting. And one of the other experiences we had that really opened my eyes was cuisine. we went to this great restaurant, and one of their delicacies was guinea pig, and I was kind of put off at first, but then as I was thinking about it, I was like, well, we in the U.S. we eat rabbit, and I was just these little things that initially was I don't a little off-putting, but I was like, well, wait a minute, hold on. What is that common theme, or what is the equivalent or a semi-equivalent to what we do here? And I just love having those exposures and then sitting in it, pausing in it, and thinking about it. And again, it is about asking questions, and I find that when I ask, is as opposed to a why do you, I like to ask the what questions, because sometimes I can come across why, and I can you can kind of tell when somebody feels that's a little aggressive. So I've kind of learned how to ask questions a little bit. I call it the safari strategy. If you go at it really aggressive head on, they're going to freak out and run away. Sometimes you have to approach those conversations a little on the side, a little bit more soft, because it'll keep them sitting still and open to that interaction.
Yeah, that makes so much sense, because you don't want to put people on the defensive, and that actually I'm gonna put this question out to everybody here, is because when you keep talking about asking questions, which is important, but what questions do you ask when you really want to deepen that connection, especially maybe with someone that you maybe are disagreeing with, so that you can, still kind of want to find out, but you don't want to necessarily are doing it to win an argument. Philip, what about, or Randy, maybe I'll pick on you and say, what are your thoughts with that?
Sure. Yes. I think asking, why is that important to you? Why is that important? So you're getting into kind of their priorities and where they're coming from. And I just wanted to mention on the film, this song about that's the way love moves. Eventually, that's something I always think of in a difficult situation. What's the most loving way for me to respond, rather than trying to make a point, but just letting them know that they're heard. And the way it's I like the what question too, what makes that so important to you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. How about you, Heather? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I like to ask, given what I do come across people from time to time that have very strong feelings. And so I like to ask, I'm curious about where that belief came from, where, and also kind of connecting it to how they're feeling it, because a lot of times, especially if somebody feels really strongly about something, it's coming from a feeling in their body. So if you're able to pause that and slow it down a little bit and talk to them about where's, I'm really curious about, how you're feeling that, where that belief comes from. When did you start feeling that way? Or where did you first hear that? And instead of saying, I don't understand why you think that, which is a lot of times maybe what we're thinking, but in order to encourage this connection and really seeing each other as human beings, because that's what we're really trying to do, right? Is to have this really keep this human connection and move away from some of the dehumanizing that is going on. So I just find that to be a helpful way of shifting the way I ask things.
I think that's great. So I think we've come up with a lot of, so we've got, why, of course, but where, what, how, all of these good questions are what we could be doing. So to be able to understand each other. And that's ultimately what we're seeking to do here, to be able to connect better with one another. Are there any, you talked, Heather, there about pausing. Are there any other practices that any of you do to be able to sort of pause and choose curiosity instead of defensiveness, especially maybe if you're getting into a conversation that's heated. Philip, maybe you want to share something on that.
So I think one thing that I really try to help people with when they navigate these differences and conflicts within relationships they care about is really helping people understand that somebody's idea or belief, how do we separate that from someone's identity? What I mean by that is because we all have beliefs that we are very much strongly, passionate for, very much like strong-willed on, very outspoken on. And what often makes these type of conversations difficult to navigate is because we don't know which belief of someone's is like something they're considering. They think it might be a good idea. They're kind of flirting with it to some degree. Or which ones is like, that is like right in line with who I am. You cannot separate that from who I am. And to share any sort of disagreement on that, I take that personally, as if you are like disagreeing with who I am, my existence here, and we will come to battle over that. And one of the things you understand is that when you talk to enough people, everyone kind of varies just by the issues as well. And so I think what's helpful oftentimes is really prefacing your curiosity, as we talked about before, to really talk about the idea at hand, the belief. I want to understand, the background behind it, the story behind it, why you care about it, why it's so important to you. What do you feel like is missing in the conversation that can help people better understand where you're coming from? And really almost over communicate to people that this is really about the idea at hand. It's not a judgment on who you are and your value and your dignity. And even if we disagree, I will still commit to respecting and loving you as a fellow human being. And that oftentimes can help people lower their guard down yet again, because they look at it as like, I don't have to come in with my fists up, because that's how a lot of people think. It's like the moment you find something that's different, you're ready to go. How do I defend? And a way where you can just say, hey, listen, I am just curious. I want to learn more about this idea. And I want to focus just on the idea. We can't talk about the whole idea, right, as someone said before. Maybe just a short piece of it, maybe for just 10 minutes. But something along those lines where people understand, look, I'm not coming after you. If I disagree, it's more so about the idea at hand. And we can talk about that in a healthy way where it doesn't pass judgment one way or the other.
Yeah, that's so important. And it deserves this. Oh goodness. Yeah. It's separating the comment or the belief from the person, I think, is so good. And in fact, that leads me to this song, because that really is where connection begins.
Sometimes the silence feels safer than risking what we might say. We hold the words in our hands, then slowly turn away. We wonder if anyone's listening, if our voice will disappear. So we stay behind the distance, waiting for a sign to appear. But courage isn't always thunder, it doesn't have to shine. Sometimes it's just a whisper, saying I'll try this time. Connection begins here, in the space between doubt and hope. In the moment we reach beyond fear and learn we don't stand alone. Connection begins here, with a heart that chooses to see. One honest step forward is where healing starts to be.
becoming something unseen. A conversation changes direction, a story finally told, and suddenly what felt broken feels a little less alone.
Sometimes it's just breathing before reaching out your hand. A quiet moment choosing to be seen just as you stand. Connection begins here in the space between doubt and hope. In the moment we reach beyond fear and learn we don't stand alone. Not every hero is fearless, not every step is strong. Sometimes courage is staying when you wanted to be gone. Sometimes courage is asking, sometimes it's letting in, and sometimes it's discovering connection can begin again. Connection begins here in the light we choose to share, in every reaching heartbeat, finding someone there. Connection begins here where compassion meets the soul. One small act of bravery can make a broken spirit whole. Connection begins here, right here.
So I love that video, and it just made me think of, I know the theme of our show is how do we stay connected. And I'm gonna come back to this in one quick second because I'm seeing some purple hearts come by. So I'm gonna do one other quick video, and then I'm gonna follow up on what I was saying. So that video is meant to honor those who are no longer with us in their physical form, but they are always with us in our hearts. And as I was starting to say, and I wanted to pose this to all of you here, is when we're talking about unity in our differences and how do we stay connected, but I also made me think of how do we reconnect with someone. So let's say that you had a falling out over something, and you hadn't watched the show yet and gotten all these wonderful tips from y'all. So how can we go about doing that? How can we go about reconnecting? Jen, you got an idea there?
I am all about connecting with people. I call it connect working. When I work with folks in career transition, people always talk about networking. I talk about connect working because it's just getting back to the human connection and being genuine. And a lot of people will say, well, I haven't talked to so-and-so in 5-10 years. How do I just come out of the blue? And I always say, just think of something that made you think about them, and just reach out and say, hey, I saw X, Y, Z, and it just made me think of you, and it made me smile. I'd love to see how you're making out. And something about what Philip was saying, when you were talking about like those combative conversations, sometimes I always say the very next day, send that person a thank you and just say, that I know that was a challenging conversation, but thank you. Thank you so much for helping me see a different side or a different perspective. And because people marinate over those conversations, and you don't want to leave it like that. But sending them a heartfelt thanks, even though it was challenging, I find that is just worth its weight in gold.
I love that. That, again, deserves this. That was a writer downer if ever I heard one. That was awesome. So, oh my gosh, the time is flying by here. So we've got one more guest video that I need to share. So I'm going to get that one going right now.
I think one of the things about meeting people from different interests and different perspectives, it's always helpful to have a good sense of what are core values for you. And then surrounding those core values are beliefs or ideas that you think are flexible. I almost look at it in the sense like when you're talking to somebody that comes from a different background from you, maybe they think differently from you, maybe they believe differently from you, maybe they even vote differently from you. I look at it as two things. One, you're essentially sampling the buffet. You're hearing their ideas and seeing what things you like, which things you want to learn more about, and which ones will you politely discard. And the other part I would look at it is from the standpoint of what they're sharing with you. You take it as a gift. They don't have to disclose. They don't have to share. They don't have to be vulnerable in sharing what they believe in or what they hold dear to themselves. And so how we care for that gift will help determine how the conversation will go, not only just right then and there, but also will there be a future conversation as far as an exchange of beliefs and ideas and thoughts. Because if it's a gift from me to them, it's a gift from them to me. We want to keep that exchange going as fruitful as we possibly can, and as friendly and as respectful as possible.
So, Philip, I'm going to put you in our little love seat, we'll call it. and I would love for you to talk a little bit more about those core values and how you can really stay grounded in them while remaining open to somebody else's perspective.
Yeah, so I think for everyone, we all have a sense of what's really important to us. And so that's kind of part of what can shape people's identity. And also understand that not all of our beliefs and ideas are core. There's some that we're still just kind of learning, that we're open to, we're questioning. And I think that's also helpful too, to kind of distinguish the two, because sometimes you can have a conversation where it's pretty clear that the idea at hand, there's not a bridge over from what you are believing in at your core to where that person is. But maybe you can still be open to something that they're sharing that made you think about something in a different light. Maybe it touches on something that may not be a core, but it's like, I've always thought about this. I never really thought much more about this. Let's explore that more together. And so I think what's helpful about that too is there's an exploration, if you call it, if you will, to learn what matters for each person. Each person on this panel has core values that are key to each person, some of which others share, some of which they don't. You never know what they are until you actually engage in a conversation to learn about it. And then outside of those core values, you may also find, just by having that open conversation, what are things that both of you may be like, hey, we're on this path together to explore, what makes sense here. And that may be something too, where, if you want to find something that you have in conflict with somebody, you don't have to go far. It's very easy to do that. What I would challenge people is try to find a way to find common ground with each person. Because I do believe, it's one of my core beliefs, that everyone that you come across has something that they can teach you. And at the same time, you have something that you can teach everyone. And so by being in a place where you can have that sort of exchange, that openness, that dialogue, fully understanding we're not going to agree on everything. And it's fine. It's okay. Then that allows you to explore, okay, where can we go with this? What can we have? Like, I can guarantee you, I could find something that I have in common that I'm sharing with each one of these panelists if I have a conversation with somebody. I also guarantee we'll probably find something that we may disagree with. And that's okay. So how do we shape this in a way that it's okay to find things that we agree with, things we disagree with, but open ourselves up to find where that common ground is, where it exists for each one?
Yeah. And you had said something there, and I just unfortunately lost it, but it's okay. It was all good, and I'll have to go back in and rewatch it. So, but I did see, Heather, you were kind of nodding your head along there. See, this is what happens sometimes. I get to listening so in depth, and then I forget what else I heard a while ago. So I don't know, Heather, what else would you like to piggyback on?
Absolutely. I do that all the time. Just so you know, you're not alone in that. That happens where you're thinking, oh my goodness, all of these like beautiful pieces as you were speaking, each one of you. One of the things that came up for me, and it's something I think because I've been working on this too, it's like right top of mind, is that idea of expanding your capacity to hold a lot of different truths at one time. And I think that kind of goes along with what you were saying, Philip, of being able to stand like really strong in what your core beliefs and your core values are, at the same time being able to listen to hear what the other person is saying and being genuinely curious and being able to hold both of those things right at once. And that's hard. That's not an easy thing to do. And so I think that that was what was coming up for me, and just that idea of like really thinking, well, just because I'm being curious and just because I'm asking, I want to understand more, doesn't mean that you're abandoning your own belief system. It just means that you're expanding. So that was coming up for me.
Yeah, for sure. Randy, what are your thoughts about maybe even what Philip has been talking about, or anything else that we haven't talked about yet?
Sure. Yeah, I wanted to add when you were talking about reconnecting, that often it takes courage to reconnect. When you feel maybe somebody's feelings are hurt, or yours are hurt, or they're angry, or maybe you're angry, it's okay. Most people will really appreciate you reaching out because they know it was highly emotional as well. And I've found that you can try again. If they're like, I don't want to talk to you, try again. It's never too late. And that's the other piece I wanted to add, of having patience in a conversation, but also when you're disconnected, have patience. Time does heal. And we can trust others to be doing their healing. And so it's worth reaching out, even if there's been some kind of a breach. I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, because it can be so great when you do finally reconnect with someone, and that maybe you haven't spoken to in a very long time. And sometimes I think you get into this point where, who's going to make the first move? It's like sometimes you're waiting for the other person, and they're probably waiting for you. So if you can just, sometimes we do have to just swallow our pride and just reach out. And so, yeah, Jen, I would love for you to talk a little bit more about this too, because I loved what you were talking about before. So yeah, just add into.
Yeah, I think sometimes when you're reaching out to folks, and like I had said earlier about finding something that you can say about them, making it about them, or making it about a thing as opposed to your conversation and your relationship, that, oh, hey, did you ever take that trip to Disney? We were thinking about it. I would just love to get your perspective. I miss our conversations. And just something that plants that little seed. And that's one thing that I talk about in connect working a lot, is not every conversation has to have an outcome. Sometimes it's just a conversation. Sometimes it's just a text message. And I've had friendships, years ago I heard it say, relationships are a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I always think that seed that you planted 5 years ago, it's been dormant. It's like those, cicadas that come out every 7 years or 14 years. It's just lying dormant. And sometimes you just need that quick little 5-word text message Something this made me think about you. It warms your heart when somebody reaches out like that in just that tiny little way with no expectation whatsoever.
That is so good. Well, we've got just a couple of minutes left in the show, so I'm going to have you go around and just share like one last sentence or one last advice that you can give our audience today about how they can stay connected and find that unity. How about you, Philip? What can you share? One quick sentence.
So, one sentence. Relationships are more important than disagreements.
Love that. Excellent. All right, Randy, how about you?
Well, I'd like to say that ideally you would be a model of calm and respect and asking questions and being curious and not let things get you off track.
Excellent. Heather.
I think that I would say, in addition to these beautiful things already, that when you are in conversations that perhaps do bring some feelings up for you, take that breath and lean into that, like that pause, so you can calm yourself down and then lean into just being curious.
Excellent. And Jen?
Well, I think I would leave everyone with a challenge. I call it the one-person challenge. Every week, meet one person, somebody you've never met before. Learn their name, ask them a question, learn one thing about them, and then share it with somebody. That's your one-person challenge every week.
Well, I think we could all certainly do that, and I need to, take advantage of that. And I think it's so good because when we do, that's all it takes really is we can find that connection. It just starts with each of us individually and just deciding that we're not going to let what the algorithms might want us to do and to buy into all of this fear mongering and anger and all that, because that first I think it was our first song that talked about, unity is calling, and it's really about love. And love is what it's all about. And that's what we're all made of. And that's what we all can keep coming back to. So I hope that you out there will keep coming back and watch our show next week, because we're going to have a special one, because we're going to be wrapping up the first quarter. I can't believe we're at the end of March already. And so all of the Fab Five are going to be on the show, and we're going to be looking back at some of the amazing guests that we have had on in these first 3 months of the year. And so I want to thank all of you wonderful panelists for joining me today, because you shared some wonderful information for our guests, or for our audience out there, our digital audience, and I appreciate that. And thank you, Erin, sharing a wonderful comment for me today. So thank you so much. But I do appreciate all of you, and thank you for watching. And be sure to catch us on the replay. It'll be on e360tv.com, and we will see you all next week. So have a fabulous week and just make your life fabulous.